And I think the first question we'll be starting with is a question that was asked by Mr. Knapp last week. Mr. Knapp was asking that why is it that landowners always demand for premium for a JV project, for a joint venture project? Was a question from Mr. Knapp. He needed clarity on Muhammad Nasir on Facebook. Nice having you on the live session. Yes. So we are starting with Mr. Knapp's question of why is it that landowners always demand for premium? Why do landowners always demand for premium for joint venture? So Mr. Knapp, there are a lot of reasons why property owners will always want a premium for their joint venture properties. For those that are new to this live session, Victory is also asking another question: how do zoning laws and land use regulations affect property development in emerging markets? So guys, that is exactly what we are looking at today. Mr. Knapp's question: why do owners of lands always demand for premium on their properties? And as I was saying, there are a lot of reasons why that is. That the number one reason might be personal problems. Now, by personal problems, I mean, okay, this person has a land and he's in a dire need of money, either as a result of health challenges, or there are a lot of reasons that I will not want to mention why somebody will want to put up his land for joint venture. That person needs money and he's not interested in selling that land. He needs money, he's not interested in selling that land. He has a land that is worth 1 billion naira. He's in dire need of 50 million naira. He has checked up and down and he cannot get that money from anywhere. Instead of selling that land, that person can decide that, okay, let me do a joint venture. Any developer that can give me 100 million naira on this land, I can actually give him the land to develop on an agreed sharing formula. So the first reason is as a result of personal reasons why somebody will want to. The first reason is as a result of personal problems. So on that ground, instead of selling that land and he's off it for life, a landowner can decide that, okay, I'm not going to sell. Let me have a joint venture on this land. If you can give me 100 million naira as a premium, then you can have the land and develop the land. That is the first reason. Before we go into further reasons, for those that don't know what joint venture is, for those that are new to real estate, I think it's important we carry you guys along so you will not be lost. Joint ventures are basically a form of development where two or more entities or companies or individuals come together to carry out development together. And what this means is that if Mr. A is a landowner, Mr. B can be a developer. Mr. A has a land, Mr. B has the know-how and the resources to develop the land. So Mr. A and Mr. B can decide that, okay, let's work together and develop this land. And basically, joint venture is a form of agreement in real estate where two or more entities agrees to come together to achieve a common goal, which usually is development. Two or more entities, one party being the landowner and the other party being the developer. And there are a lot of joint ventures where you have more than two entities. There are forms of joint ventures where you're going to have the landowner, you're going to have the developer, you're going to have the financier, and sometimes you can even have joint venture to the extent of the off-taking aspect of that joint venture. I'll give you different examples so you'll all be on page on what we are discussing. Yes, so a lot of real estate projects you see ongoing in Abuja, it's not as if those developers are actually buying those lands for 1 billion naira, 2 billion naira to carry out those developments. What they basically do is to get those landowners agree on a sharing formula with them. Usually Usually it can be on 50-50 basis, 60-40, or 30-70 basis, depending on, there are a lot of factors that brings about those variation. Coach Selina Onogu, you're welcome. We are happy to have you on the live session. So that is it. You can have a lot of reasons why the sharing formula will alternate. If you have a place with very high infrastructure and high value of land, the sharing formula can 50-50. Now, God, joint venture is a very broad topic. I think we'll be publishing a very comprehensive video. We'll be publishing a very comprehensive video on joint venture, hopefully tomorrow or so. I'll share the link to the video where I talked extensively about joint venture, because I noticed I am really touching different aspects of this. So let's go back to what we were answering so we don't derail too much. The number one reason why landowners will demand for premium is personal problems. They have a challenge, they don't want to sell the land, so they will rather decide that, okay, give me so amount, then go in and develop the land. If it's developed, we can share on an agreed sharing formula, which I was telling you that there are a lot of ways to go about that sharing formula. Basically, in joint venture, once greed is put aside, it's easier to determine the sharing formula in a joint venture. Once you have ascertained that, okay, this is the land, okay, the land probably, let's say, is 2,000 square meter and can take, let's say, 10 units of terraces. These are hypothetical. The calculations, it's not correct. I just want you guys to understand what exactly we're discussing about. Okay, this is a 2,000 or 2,000 or let's say 3,000 square meters that can take 10 units of terraces. Now, if let's say the units when built can be sold for 100 million naira each, for example, and the cost of building them is 500 million naira. That's 50 million naira per unit. That's to tell you that, okay, this developer's contribution to this project is around probably 50 to 60 or 70%, depending on the land value. If you ascertain the cost, the selling cost, ascertain the cost of building the project, you can ascertain the cost of the land. And once you have ascertained the cost of the land, you'll be able to clearly determine the sharing formula of that joint venture. So the number one reason is personal problems. The number two is regulatory problems. This is another reason why somebody will want to have a joint venture on their lands. So the second reason, Mr. Knapp, why people will want to have joint venture on their land is regulatory problems. Okay, now somebody has an allocation that he has not developed, and you hear, what's the name? The FCT minister saying, okay, if there are undeveloped lands, the government are going to revoke those lands. And for that person to be able to do anything on his land, probably he has an outstanding ground rent on the land to pay of 50 million naira to 70 million naira that he needs to clear up before he can either get his C of O or R of O or carry out any development. So in such instance, that person might not necessarily have the money. Instead of losing out on that land, on that allocation, he can look for somebody, okay, I need a 50 million naira premium on this land, or 70 million naira or 100 million naira premium on this land. If you can provide that money, come, let's have a joint venture on this land. Come and develop, then we share. So that is the second reason, regulatory. Number three, I shouldn't discuss this on air, but it's okay. This is a closed family meeting. It's actually corruption. The third reason why a lot of landowners will want premium on their properties is actually corruption. There are a lot of people that paid money to get allocation. Some of them have not finished paying such monies. And before they can carry out development on those lands, they need to pay whoever they are that they partnered with that got them those allocations. If they don't have that money to give them, they can make, and they are not willing to sell that land, they can make those lands available for joint ventures. So if you have the money to give them, you can go in and develop the land. So these are some reasons why those property owners will always demand for premium. So those are some reasons why those guys will demand for premium before they allow you to have a joint venture with them. Now, another aspect you should look out for, if these people are demanding for all these monies to carry out joint venture development, so the question is, why should you want to go into joint venture? The question is, why then should you go into joint venture? Mariam Efik, welcome, nice having you. So the question is, why go into joint ventures? As a landowner, why not just develop your land? Why not just develop your land? Or why not just sell your land? There are a lot of reasons why you should go into joint venture. There are so many reasons why you should go into joint venture as a developer and as a landowner. Joint venture is actually a serious win-win situation for both the landowner and developer. Yes. The number one reason why, as a landowner, you should go into joint venture is leveraging on expertise. Leveraging on expertise. So, guys, the number one reason as a landowner why you should have joint venture is leveraging on expertise. You might be a landowner, but you know that the best value for that land is to develop it, not to sell it. And you don't have the time, you don't have the expertise to develop estates and sell. I will generally not recommend you go into that. It's better you talk to an expert to hand over all the headache and whatever challenges will come with that development to him. A lot of landowners, in the bid to go into development, end up building structures that they are unable to sell, and they have tied down their money for a very long period of time. So if it's not your area of expertise, give an expert, have a partnership with him, and allow him to do what he is good at. So number one reason why you should do joint venture as a landowner is actually leveraging on expertise. Number two, as a landowner, is increasing your profits. Increasing your profits. Yes. If you're going into joint ventures, you are definitely almost doubling your profits compared to selling the land. Let me give you, for instance, now. There is a land we are finalizing a joint venture agreement with the owner of the land, Timmy Royal Hone. Welcome. We are finalizing a joint venture agreement with the owner of the land. It's around 2,000 plus square meters in Guzape, and what we're building is 8 units of terraces on that land. The man bought that land in 2012 or thereabout for 22 million naira. Today, the land is worth about 500 million naira to 600 million naira if he's selling as at today. Now, on a joint venture agreement, we're going to give him 4 units out of it. Those 4 units at 300 million naira are around 1.2 billion naira. So you can see, you will not be able to compare the 500 million naira he's supposed to sell and the 1.2 billion naira he will be selling when a joint venture agreement happens. And now, what's the name? The joint venture, it really doesn't stop there. What joint venture further does is that, one, it helps you create cash